So, Brady, what's your first question?
My first question is more or less just I've seen some of the other videos that you've done on meditation, and I've just kind of had a question about how to get started. I have a general idea from some of the other videos I've watched, but I've been wanting to really get deeper into it. Um, like starting out, taking long, deep in breaths, out breaths. Is Does that just entail just taking a long, deep breath, or is there like any kind of counting involved? Or I've never understood when I've read the Anapanasati Sutta, breathing in long or breathing in short, you know, particularly, is there a certain way, a certain length, a certain, time, things like that.
Okay. The kind of questions that you're asking, I would put in the realm of scientific.
Hmm.
All right, trying to get it exactly right.
Hmm.
And the actual practice is much more of an artistic or a feeling, not a science. And so instead of saying how long do you count, a better thing to ask would be how do you feel? Because we're wanting to go into a kind of a breathing that gives us several, let us say, new pieces of data or perspective. And ultimately, the whole point about the breathing is just to relax the body. But the body's relaxation is part of a mental component that we'll get into. Another aspect of the breathing is that it gives a brand new student something to focus on.
Hmm.
All right, and that it gives the old student an anchor in the sense of always coming back to the breath to remember the breathing. Now, um, some places um, will teach to not try to control the breath. In fact, there's been a whole lot of bad data about breathing meditations, and partly is to do with it sometimes is good advice in one particular instance. And then when people take it in general, it becomes misguided advice. You can actually see that in sports, to where the little kid is holding his bat wrong, and the teacher comes and shows him how to hold the bat. But that's not the only way to hold the bat. But people will say, oh, well, the teacher said to hold it exactly like this, and so that's the only way to do it. And that basically, um, one of the issues is that we're actually going to learn to control the breathing. And the reason that we're going to control the breathing is because you can't control the breathing without controlling the mind. Then, in fact, this is a mental exercise to learn to control the breathing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So, we learn to control the breathing, but we're also using the breath in order to investigate. And that what we're going to do is to investigate to find any tensions in the body, any, um, let us say, hard places, dark spots, any of that kind of stuff, with the intention of learning to relax it because we can see it. So if you've read the Anapanasati Sutta, it's talking about understanding breathing in long and understanding breathing out long, and then understanding breathing in short and understanding breathing out short. And then the next one is that he trains himself to understand the body. Now that's where we're understanding the body in the sense of finding any tensions, any sore spots, any things like that. With the step 4 then is going to be to relax the body. Now they use the word, the translators use the word tranquilize, but we're not going out shooting lions with darts. That's too much tranquilize. That's actually a poor translation. That what we're talking really about is to relax the body. Now, in the process of that, getting to understand the body, that's also where people find anxiety, tension, um, panic, anger, fear, all of the emotional stuff, especially the heavier the emotion gets, the more obvious it's going to affect the body. Now, modern times, we understand that that's because of a chemical process that generally has both adrenaline and cortisol mixed in. And so when we're beginning to see the body and understanding the body, that's actually just another pathway back to what the mind is doing. Because the mind was what gives rise to that triggering of the adrenaline and the cortisol, which both come out of the adrenaline gland. Now, just an important point. It's not really important, but it's interesting anyway, that in the back, in the lower back, generally on the right, this is where the adrenaline gland is located. Why? Why is the adrenaline gland there? Anatomy is really an interesting thing. You see, really, the source of all of that is the amygdala, which is in the back part of the brain, behind the eyes, down. It's actually the area that touches close to the throat. When you breathe in, the air passes by the amygdala, and the amygdala then does the job of setting off the pineal and the pituitary glands that then transmit data down to the adrenaline gland, way down here. And the reason for that is that the adrenaline gland gets its chemical cocktail out of the kidneys and the liver. And so that's why it's located where it is. But that also is the midsection of the body. And so this is where we will feel tension, anxiety, a hard feeling, an uncomfortable feeling. And mostly when that cool sort of feelings happen, it's actually part of what the scientists would call the fight or flight syndrome. Basically, it is that we don't like it. And so we can actually now use the breathing to relax that so that we can get rid of our anxiety. We can let it go. We can let go of the anger. We can let go of all of the chemicals. And that when we're breathing deeply, we can expel much of those chemicals out through the breath. That's why the breath gets hot and stinky. It's not because of our rotting teeth. It's because of the carbon dioxide and all of its laden amino acids and things like that can be broken up if we're breathing well. But oftentimes when we get uptight, tense, anger, anxiety-ridden, panic mode, stress, all of that, we tend to shut our breathing down. And so it's very good then to remember to learn to control the breathing so that you're getting good airflow. We oxygenate the body, giving it energy, and then we breathe out long, we breathe out well in order to clear up the bloodstream. So it's got that dual benefit of consciously taking a deeper, longer breath. And that in some cases we would take a short breath in the sense that we're really going to make that happen very quickly. So a long breath would be very comfortable, very relaxed, but a short breath would be really putting the energy to it, like, and that really will clean the body out quickly, almost to the point of making you lightheaded.
Hmm.
Actually, it can make you lightheaded. In fact, that's part of the reason for doing it, is to get the body really energized and clean out the bloodstream. So both the long breath, like this, can do two things. Actually, several things. One is that it can make you a little bit lightheaded because you're getting good air. Another thing that it can do is it actually, especially the out breath with the intention to actually relax. This is why the breathing becomes so important. And this is why the Buddha actually talks about it in the sense of anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, which means that we're actually controlling the breathing. And that gives us something to do, controlling our breathing, making it long and relaxed. And then Goenka has a word: when the mind wanders away from the breath, never mind, start again.
Hmm.
Because we're constantly judging our own self. We're critical. We want to get it right. In fact, that's why you were asking about the counting of the breath, is because you want to get it right. And so when the mind wanders away from the breath, and the student recognizes that, they'll have then the idea of, oh, I'm not getting it right. And so we start to fuss at ourselves. And the right thing to do is just never mind. Just start it again. We don't have to go through that cycle of self-hatred of saying, oh, you didn't do it right. That in fact, that's part of the issue is that the we're we're learning then to not just to control the breathing, but to learn to control the mind, to stop criticizing, to stop being so scientific and trying to get it right, and go back into the idea or the sense of relaxing. Everything is good, everything is okay. And if the mind wanders away, never mind. I'm glad, in fact, that I saw it wander away, because now I can come back and start again, make it easy again. So when the mind wanders away, never mind, start again. And come back to the breath, make it easy and long and relaxed. Now, when you're doing the short breath, that has also the quality that the mind can't do much other than that. You're breathing so fast that you have to keep it going, and it's hard to think of anything else when you're doing the short breath. If you try that, you'll recognize you don't have much time to think about anything. It's hard to remember having a fight with Aunt Susie. It's hard to do math. It's hard to do almost any kind of mental exercise when you're doing the short breathing. But when we're doing the long breathing, that leaves gaps of time for the mind to wander away, for the mind to start having external thoughts and things like that. And then we can begin to monitor and see those kind of thoughts. Um, you could say then that the breathing begins to set a tempo. There is a lot of music that starts with the drum setting a tempo. My two favorite ones is the Beethoven's violin concerto in D, where it actually starts with a timpani. It goes boom, 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 and then it goes da 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 da, and the timpani goes boom, 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 boom. Another one that's like that is Bolero. Ravel's Bolero is a very common piece. It starts with a drummer, a snare drum going dot 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 da 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 da, and then the whole piece of music, about 20 minutes long, that snare drum keeps that beat going. Okay, well, this is what we can do then is with the long breath, we can set a kind of a tempo with the mind so that we get into a rhythm and allows the mind then to um, sort of fall into place, fall into pace. And then with that, we can actually start to having thoughts about, oh, isn't this nice? Oh, wow, what relaxation. No place to go, nothing to do, and those kind of thoughts that we would accompany with that. But then the mind will wander away, and where it normally wanders to is this old hunting ground. This is an important point. In fact, I haven't mentioned this in a long time, but the Buddha had a story about elephants. Now, there's two different systems. One is to take a baby elephant and train them, but in the time of the Buddha, they would also want to go get the big tuskers, the huge ones, the ones who would go into battle, and that they would capture them and then stake them out. They would take them away from where they captured them and then stake them out. And what that means was basically driving a tree trunk into the ground and then with vines and made up rope of the day. They didn't have chains. But then that big tusker, especially at night, and they would always, uh, let us say, hobble him for the left hind leg. And there that elephant's going to swing that leg until he pulls that pole out or he breaks the vine, and then he's going to wander away. Well, this is the simile then of the mind. Where does the mind or where does the elephant go? And the answer is it generally goes back to where it was captured because it was there when it wanted to be, or it goes to water, or it goes back to the herd. And so the men who were capturing the elephant, they kind of know where to go get that elephant. In that regard, generally when our mind wanders away, it keeps going back to the same old place, the same old familiar places. And what we can do then is we can go grab the mind from that and come back and then tether it again to the breathing. And as we're breathing in long and breathing out long, then the mind will in fact loosen its bonds and wander away again back into its old territory, the familiar territory that is often, in fact, almost guaranteed to be unwholesome. And so when we recognize that the mind has wandered away, we can bring it back again. Bring it back to the wholesome. Bring it back to wholesome thoughts. Give it uh, a way to, if you keep bringing it back, what would happen with the bull elephants, by the way, is that after they are capable of escaping 3, 4, 5, or 6 times and keep getting captured again and staked out again, they begin to settle down so that they don't work so hard or don't even work at all in trying to escape. All right. So this is also the analogy for students where they think after they've been practicing for a while that, oh, I don't have that problem anymore. And then the mind will wander back into that territory. Let us say that somebody had an argument with his girlfriend or his wife, and then he goes to sit down to practice anapanasati, and the thoughts of that argument keep coming back and keep coming back. And so he takes the mind, he places it on the breathing, only to find out that it goes back to that argument again. Well, never mind, start again. Come back tie it down to the breath, keep it in good, wholesome thoughts, and guess what? The mind's going to wander back to that argument again, probably a half a dozen times or so. So don't get frustrated that the mind is actually doing the same thing that a bull elephant would do, but recognize that that's just the habit that it's in, that we in fact enjoy the frustrations of rehashing old arguments. And so, never mind, start again. Bring that mind back to the breath, back to the happy thoughts associated with the breath. And so this is the way of getting started, is we're using the breath as a tool or a mechanism. And then later, as we get skilled, that as sati comes back, almost automatically that long breath will start up almost all by itself, because we're training. It's almost like that the elephant escapes and wanders away, but then it comes back to where it was staked out, all by itself. Okay, so this is the we're developing that habit of continuously coming back to the breath. And this is the training. We also train to look at what the body is doing, and that this here's a point about it is that the body, we want to kind of keep it a bit still when we're sitting in meditation, but we need to start watching what the body is doing when we're out active. Look at the way that we move our hands. Look at the way where we put the hands. Look at the kind of gestures that we make. Look at our facial expressions. Look at the way that we're doing things when we pick up something. In fact, we can begin to slow it down so that we can take a good look at how we're using the body. This is a way of approaching things, is to start monitoring the body, watching the body, uses that as one of the objects. Now, as I said before, also that the body is a key towards our feelings, that often the feelings, when they run amok, they actually muck up the body. And for the beginner, recognizing that there is anxiety and tension in the body, and then we can deal with it directly. Rather than saying, oh, well, what was the thought? We can actually just change the thoughts back into, never mind, everything is okay, everything is fine. We can take a few deep breaths and that anxiety will float away. Or we can actually experience that anxiety in the sense of, can we begin to control it? Can we begin to experience it? As I breathe in, does the anxiety come up? And as I breathe out, does it go back down? Can I move it from where it is, up, around, down, back and forth? Can I move it down into the belly? We can actually begin to play with the anxiety rather than being annoyed by it and trying to avoid it. We begin to accept it and begin to control it. So this is the practice for the beginner. And this is why the breath is such a good, useful tool to learn to see what the mind is doing. And as we begin to control the breathing, that takes mind moments. And it takes the mind moments away from the normal activities of the mind, which is worry, frustrations, doubts, desires, all of those kind of things that, by the way, are called hindrances. And so the hindrances is what we're actually intending to be free from. And what is a hindrance? Anything that hinders one from being in the kind of state that they want to be in. And so here's a question for you. If you could feel the way that you wanted to feel, how would you feel right now?
Ah, pretty good.
Yeah. And recognizing that you can, when I ask you that question now, we're not talking about in general, how would you feel long term? But if you had a choice about how you feel right now, how would you feel right now, knowing that at some other time you have that same choice? Because we can feel the way that we want to feel without getting stuck in feeling in a certain way. But from childhood, we were trained into having certain kinds of feelings, and so they become familiar. Feelings of anxiety, pressure, stress, a feeling of not being loved, a feeling of longing, a feeling of needing something. And so those are the habits that we have, but we can change those habits so that you can change them into the feeling of everything is okay, the feeling of being safe and secure rather than having feelings of fear, stress, anxiety. We can have the feelings of, wow, I feel safe, everything is okay. We can, instead of having feelings of being discomforted and uncomfortable, we can have feelings of, oh, everything is okay. I can feel comfortable. Yeah, the mosquito bit me and there's an itch there, but I'm comfortable. I'm okay with that. And so then we can develop the feeling of satisfaction. And that's the real goal, is the feeling of satisfaction. Can we continue to come back to the state of everything is okay, I can breathe in and breathe out long, and everything relaxes, and everything is just hunky-dory. Everything is easy peasy. And that's the process. Now, here's an important point, and that is from the very beginning, you can do that. This is not a long-term goal of being able to relax and feel comfortable and safe and secure and satisfied. You can do that within the first minute of meditation. Then you can do it in the second minute of meditation. And then you can do it in the second hour, the second day, the second month. We always keep coming back to the same thing. And so many students will ask the question of, well, when I get into that state, now what? And the answer to that is, if you're asking, now what, then you're really not in that state. Because the state of satisfaction doesn't ask what's next. It's just satisfied with where it is. And so when you ask yourself what's next, the right thing to say then is, never mind, just enjoy the moment. Because that's all we've really got, is just this moment. And 2 years from now, all you'll ever have then is just this moment with a different calendar and a different clock face. But it's always right now. So that's the practice, is practicing right now. Remember to practice right now. Remember to practice being safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied right now. Not much else to it. I know that in Western Buddhism and even in Eastern Buddhism, there's a lot of magical powers, other worlds, um, attainments, that Nibbana is way out there, Enlightenment is way, way out there. And the answer is no, everything is right here immediately available.
Mhm.
When you're safe, secure, comfortable, satisfied, that's enlightened. That's Nibbana. Just cooling out, chilling out, that's all there is to Nibbana. It's not a special world or a special place or a Shangri-La, a city in the mountains or anything like that. It's just being chill. And that's what the practice is. Nothing special about it, just being chill. And we begin to arrange our lifestyle around just chilling out, just being comfortable and happy and chilled out the way that things are right now. That's all there is to it. So, you have anything to say?
Um, no, you pretty much covered it. I guess the only thing I would have to say or ask is, I basically from what I've gathered from seeing some of the other videos before, don't spend, too much at a time. You don't need to do like some of these Western kind of groups where they, do 45-minute sits or an hour. Just kind of do, 5, 10, 15 minutes here and there. Um, I guess for tomorrow and for this week, just practice just breathing in and out, not really trying to focus so much on the exact length or the count or the time. Just kind of breathe in, deep breath, breathe out, deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Get distracted. Okay, I got distracted.
Never,
Great. I realized I got
never.
distracted. Start back over.
Mm-hmm. Start again. That's about all there is to it. So go practice that a while. Get yourself into a really, really good, nice state of comfortable, satisfied, safe, secure, and everything is okay. And then call me again.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Brady, we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely, we will.
All right.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.